part of the reason that I think that crypto is pumping today is the fact that one of the crucial elements in the sort of macro situation vis-a-vis what's happening in the Middle East cleaned up a little bit yesterday. So a group called the Houthis, who are based in Yemen, who are sort of godfathered by the Iranian government, surrendered to the United States. So while that's not necessarily the end, because I saw some clips of some of the leadership of that organization vowing to do some more damage. So they may as well just violate the ceasefire anytime soon. But as it is now, it looks like the United States is gaining the upper hand in that region. And that region is quite crucial because it controls a lot of the shipments of goods from Asia to Europe, which is a massive, massive thing for the economy. So whether it be oil coming to the United States through Europe, or oil coming to Europe, not via the pipes, but via the sea from the Persian Gulf, goods and services coming from China, lots of shipments of, ammunition, all sorts of things go through that Red Sea region, Persian Gulf, through the Suez Canal into the Mediterranean Sea. So that channel controls has a massive effect on European and American economy, hence why there's always a very strong collection of countries that have their forces there, and they often respond very quickly to any sort of uprisings in those areas. Now, I'm not sure if that exactly what's caused it, but that's definitely lifted some of the uncertainties, especially when it comes to oil and goods and services arriving in Europe. Okay, so that's one. Another thing is the BRICS. The BRICS meeting, man, it's looking like a success, man. Even though the POTUS, President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, threatened 100% tariffs on these countries. The latest video that I saw, he said 10%. So he seems to have cooled off a little bit on the percentage of the tariffs. Now, 100% tariffs, that's a little bit, that's fighting talk, right? That's a declaration of war, effectively. 10% tariffs, I think some of these countries can absorb that, especially China and maybe even Brazil can absorb that. But what this means is that it's less of a deterrent, and these countries are soldiering on to find, an alternative to the dollar as a trading currency. And it seems as though it's happening, right? A lot of these countries are striking deals with each other to trade without the dollar, okay? And as a result of that, and the loss of faith in the US dollar, and the US dollar itself sort of self-destructing with all the printing and all the inflation and all that stuff, it seems as though the dollar is starting to collapse. In fact, the last I think this year, 2025, has been the worst half year that the dollar has ever had in my lifetime, because this is since the 1970s, the early 70s, that things have ever been this bad. So since the 70s to now. So most of you guys watching this, if you're under 50 years old, this is the worst performance the dollar has ever put up since you've been born, or in your entire lifetime. This is the worst it's ever been. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. And I think a lot of that is caused by the fact that 4 years ago, we had that global event that caused the most amount of currency ever to be printed within just a few months, right? Were printed. And that caused a devastating effect on the value of the dollar, the faith of the people holding the dollar. And it created an environment where countries started thinking, well, this is ridiculous. We don't trust this anymore. It's not safe as it used to be. The United States also got their, what's the rating? I've forgotten the rating now. Moody, is it called? The rating was reduced for the first time in history or something like that, right? I think it was the Moody rating or something like that. I'm probably getting it wrong. It's the credit rating, the faith that the United States has the ability to repay its debts. And yeah, it looks like the empire is crumbling, guys. And the greatest empires have all fallen. The Roman Empire fell, ancient Egypt, Sumeria, Genghis Khan's empire, the British Empire, of which the United States Empire is the tail end of. So the United States Empire is kind of the Byzantine empire of the Roman Empire. So the United States Empire is to the British Empire as the Byzantine Empire was to the Roman Empire, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I digress. So I think that what we're witnessing, guys, is the end of an era, the end of the US dollar as a thing, right? A functioning fiat currency. And all currencies also do eventually fail, right? But because we're living it out, right? We're right in the middle of it. A lot of us can't see it. And because it's moving in real time, we don't see the decline. Someone would look back 200 years from now and chart out the decline, and they'll be able to point at certain times when stuff happened that caused the decline. Just like now when we look back at the Roman Empire, we can see some of the reasons why and some of the things that caused the decline. We can see some of the battles that they lost in Germany, for instance, that caused the decline of the Roman Empire in Northern Europe. We can see some of the battles they lost in the Sudan, in what is currently modern day Sudan, that caused the collapse of the Roman stronghold in Egypt and all those places. And people are going to look back 200 years from now and see things like, the COVID pandemic, the election of a certain president, whatever, as the downfall of the greatest civilization there ever has been up till now. So how do we escape this? Well, as mere citizens, all we can do, no financial advice, of course, your own research, is preempt some of the stuff, right? It's why a lot of people are running to Bitcoin now. Remember, just a few years ago, Bitcoin was just magic internet money, some geeky nonsense. Everybody and their dog was laughing and crapping all over Bitcoin. Jamie Dimon and all those guys talking nonsense about Bitcoin, XRP, these are scam coins. But now we have, Anthony Scaramucci talking about, buying Bitcoin. It's like buying real estate in New York for 5 cents or something like that in the 1600s. And, you have presidents of countries and their progeny, their sons and daughters investing $4, $5, $10 million into funds that accumulate XRP, Ethereum, Bitcoin. We have countries talking about Bitcoin strategy to pull themselves out of debt. We have BlackRock, the biggest investment bank in the world or fund manager in the world, hoarding Bitcoin like no man's business. You have ETFs where the richest people in the world can fight over this magic internet money. Everything has changed. Everything has changed. But for the first time in probably history and civilization, we, the average unwashed masses, the commoners on the ground, the uneducated, the non-blue blood, the commoners, the peasants, we were able to buy the stuff before them and hold on to it for the inevitable to happen. We have a good chance at freedom for the first time in the history of humanity. The commoners have a possibility of freedom. But unfortunately for us, these guys are not going to give up without a fight, which is why they've been able to retrieve nearly 90% of that stuff. So 90% of the people who were holding Bitcoin, for instance, and XRP back 10 years ago have sold, all right? And they sold at terribly low prices. Most people, okay? Now they're buying in, but the vast majority of people who held XRP, Bitcoin, blah, 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 back in the early days, have sold. And they've sold to BlackRock. They've sold to JP Morgan. They've sold to Donald Trump and King Charles of the UK. So freedom, maybe not all of us will be free. Maybe just some of us will have that freedom. And even then, how long can we hold on to it? Nobody knows. Kind of a weird one today, but not financial advice. Maybe the sun has got to my head. Look at that. It's kind of awakened different parts of my brain or something. Who knows? Do your own research.